to Isaiah and his bad boy Pistons, I don't think there's ever been a more physical team than them.
Okay.
They impose their will on you.
Right.
They beat you up, man.
Right.
And if you flinched, it was over for you.
Right.
They could do things very few teams could do. They can be physical, and then they had that three-headed monster, Isaiah, Joe Dumars, and Vinnie Johnson.
Right.
You couldn't do nothing
Vinnie
with
got
them.
cooking.
And I'm not even talking about John Sally and Rodman.
They had Mahorn the first year, Lambert.
That's right. Was it tough to play against it? Of course.
Right.
But, give them credit. They won back-to-back championships.
Correct.
I never take anything away from a champion.
Right.
And so they proved that style could win.
Right.
And they won with it. And so give them credit. And they, to me, one of the greatest teams as well. Because defensively, I don't know if we've seen a better team than the Pistons.
Right.
So it's been a reoccurring topic on this channel a lot recently. Who was the deepest team in NBA history? I think there's a lot of solid candidates for that title, and please, let me know in the comments section below who would be your choice for that title. I don't necessarily know with complete certainty the team I would pick, but it seriously might be this one. I'm talking about the 1988 to 1989 Detroit Pistons. What's amazing about this team is not only are they one of the most overall talented squads of all time, but I would argue that they're one of the most overlooked teams in NBA history. We're talking about a group of players that nearly won 3 straight NBA championships, with one of the greatest backcourts that the game of basketball has ever seen. During their run of dominance, they were able to beat Magic Johnson's Showtime Lakers, Larry Bird's Celtics, and Michael Jordan's Bulls. Not once, not twice, but for 3 straight seasons, they eliminated the Bulls out of the NBA playoffs. I think the reason why this group is one of the most overlooked teams of all time is simply because they were not very liked in their heyday by anyone outside of Detroit, seeing how they were known as the Bad Boy Pistons for their dirty and physical antics, and that was a reputation that they reveled in. Not only that, but the Bad Boy Pistons are now treated as a footnote to the story of Michael Jordan's legacy. Now, were they an obstacle for MJ and served as a launching pad for his career? Absolutely. But they were also one of the most dominant teams in NBA history, especially in 1989. This specific group was led by one of the greatest dual-threat point guards in the history of the league, Isaiah Thomas. This guy was an incredible ball handler, an amazing facilitator, and a terrific scorer. He also had ice water flowing through his veins, as he was one of the most clutch players that the game has ever seen. Like when he dropped an NBA record 25 points in a single quarter of the NBA Finals, in a game where he ended up with 43 points. Isaiah Thomas was the kind of player who could drop 40 points in an NBA playoff game, and the next night, he could get you 15 to 20 assists, and no one would bat an eye. Alongside of him was one of the most underrated players of all time, Joe Dumars. This guy had a solid handle of the basketball and was one of the all-time great perimeter defenders. In fact, on multiple occasions, Michael Jordan has referred to him as the best perimeter defender he's ever faced. At small forward, they had a lethal scoring wing known as Mark Aguirre. Just before he had joined the Detroit Pistons, he was the leader of the Dallas Mavericks, as he was averaging nearly 30 points per game for that group. And somehow, similar to guys like Alex English and Adrian Dantley, he has seemed to be lost and forgotten in history, despite being one of the best scorers of his era. At power forward, they had the enforcer, Rick Mahorn, who was not just a solid rebounder, but a guy who was a major part of their physical identity. And at center was one of the most famous villains in NBA history, Bill Laimbeer. Despite his notorious nicknames and reputation, he was known in his day for being a lot more than just a mean player. Laimbeer was one of the first stretch 5 centers of the NBA. He was also a guy who was frequently among the league leaders in rebounds, and he was a fantastic passer, and more specifically, a fantastic outlet passer. Coming off the bench, they had several guys who were capable of being a 6th Man of the Year winner. The guy who was usually their 6th man was known as Vinnie the Microwave Johnson. The reason they called him the microwave is because of how quickly he could heat up, as he was a fantastic scoring spark plug for this team. The next off the bench was a back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year winner in Dennis Rodman, and at this point of his career, he was much leaner, but very strong and very quick. During his days with the Bulls, he was known for guarding guys like Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, and Shaquille O'Neal. But at this point of his career, he was more commonly assigned to guys like Magic Johnson, Scottie Pippen, and even occasionally Michael Jordan. Then their eighth man in the rotation was the 7'1" center James Edwards, who was a guy who averaged as high as 17 points per game during his career. This guy was a quality scoring option and would certainly be a starter on the vast majority of teams. But on this group, he was just their third most important big man. And then the ninth man in their rotation was the 6'11" John Salley, who was only at the age of 24 and was in the middle of the prime of his career. He wasn't a star player by any means, but he always played with hustle, heart, and energy, and was a quality role player even though he was one of the last guys off the bench. As I mentioned before, this team was stupid deep and had basically everything on their roster. From scorers, to passers, to defenders, to rebounders, there was basically no style of basketball that they couldn't play and excel in. Throughout the 1988 to 1989 regular season, they finished with a 63-19 record. They swept the Boston Celtics out of the first round 3-0. Then in the semifinals, they swept a very talented Milwaukee Bucks team 4-0. Then in the Eastern Conference Finals, they took out Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen in 6 games. And then, against the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA Finals, who were previously undefeated in the Western Conference playoffs, they swept them as well, 4-0. Meaning they had a 15-2 record throughout the entirety of the postseason as they secured their championship. Not only is this team ridiculously underrated and overlooked, but they should even be in the argument for the greatest team in NBA history. The way that the passage of time has treated them is honestly a travesty, unless of course you believe they deserved it for their antics on the court, and a lot of people would argue as much. So what do you guys think? Are the 1989 Detroit Pistons the deepest team in NBA history? And if not, what is a team that was deeper than them? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Shout out to the members as always for supporting the channel, and thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.